Welcome on our discussion on your quiz number 1 for the nature of government accounting. So, iisa-isahin natin yung mga items na naka-indicate sa yung quiz. So, let's go with number 1. Ang instruction is analyze the given statements, then click the button corresponding your answer. It refers to the step in the government budgetary process which involves the enactment by the Congress of the GAA based on the budget submitted by the President which cannot be increased by the Congress. The initiative for the enactment of the appropriation law shall come from the House of Representatives. So budget legislation, execution, accountability, or budget preparation. So what's the answer? Budget legislation or authorization. Remember, kapag sinabing budget preparation, it comes from the various government agencies na nagpe-prepare from budget call up to the submission to the DBM. So from DBM naman, then it will be subjected to a budget hearing. Then kung yan ay okay na within the Congress, within the Senate or the House of Representatives, then it can be forwarded to the President for approval. So in this case, ang sinasabi is the enactment by the Congress of the General Appropriation Act. Ibig sabihin, sa Congress, both the lower and the upper house is okay na yung budget. So, saan siya papasok? Under budget, legislation, or authorization. Kasi itong execution sa operations na yan eh. Accountability is related to audit. So, letter A ang ating correct answer for number 1. That is 2 points. Number 2, it encompasses the process of analyzing, recording, classifying, summarizing, and communicating all transactions involving the receipt, disposition, and utilization of government funds and property and interpreting the results thereof. Government auditing, analyzing, accounting, or reporting. So basically, yung term is a definition of government accounting. So the answer for number 2 is letter C. That is also 2 points. Number 3, it refers to the step in the government budgetary process wherein the President, through the assistance of the DBM, shall prepare and submit to the Congress a budget or of expenditures and sources of financing, including receipts from existing proposed revenue measures. The choices are preparation, execution, accountability, legislation, or authorization. Ano ang tinutukoy dito? Wherein the President or the Assistant shall prepare and submit. So remember, yung process wherein before the phase or the stage kung saan hindi pa nasasubmit sa Congress yung mismong budget that is covered by the phase na budget preparation. So normally kasi in practice ang nangyayari diyan, si President kino-coordinate niya kay DBM and the other cabinet members yung preparation ng budget. So normally sinasabi diyan kung anong mga priority project ang gustong mangyari ng presidente for a particular department. So yun ang tinutukoy diyan na through the assistance of the DBM ay nagsasubmit sila sa Congress ng a budget of expenditure and source of financing. So yan ay part ng budget preparation. So hindi siya execution dahil wala pa namang authorized accountability, wala pa dahil normally nangyayari yan after ng operation. Itong legislation or authorization naman dahil kakasubmit pa lang sa Congress. So normally ay wala pang hindi pa na-legislate or hindi pa na-authorize yung budget. So, budget preparation ang sagot sa number 3, that is 2 points. Number 4, it refers to the financial plan of a government for a given period, usually for a fiscal year. So, financial plan. So, projected pa lang ito. So, sa lahat ng yan, ang projection pa lang ay yung budget, the government budget. Itong financial position, financial statements, and financial performance, these are reports of a government for a given period. So the correct answer is letter B, government budget, 2 points. Number 5, the government accounting manual aims to update the following except. The answer is, isa-isahin muna natin. Ano bang ina-update? Let's go with letter B. Standards, policies, guidelines, and procedures in accounting for government funds and property. Ito talaga yung purpose ng government accounting manual. Magsa-set out siya ng mga policies and guidelines. Kaya nga mapapansin mo sa Government Accounting Manual Volumes 1 to 3, nag-i-state siya, for example, merong travel expenses. Saang account, ano ang policy on the use of travel expenses na account title, intelligence expenses, subsidy from national government, cash tax remittance advice. So merong mga policies or guidelines and procedures for the use of such account title. So yun ang pine-prescribe ng government accounting manual talaga. So letter B is not the answer. Next, accounting books, registries, records, forms, reports, and financial. Doon din mismo sa GAM, naka-indicate doon kung anong mga forms ang gagamitin. Disbursement voucher, obligation request, purchase order, and accounting books. Yung national government books and regular agency books, mga yun yung classification ng accounting books na pine-prescribe ng government accounting manual. Yung mga registries, naka-indicate din doon. Yung registries na pinag-usapan natin, registries of allotments and obligations, naka-indicate doon. Financial statements na previously we discussed. So, letter C is not the answer because it is part of the updates of the GAM. Coding structure, ito yung tinutukoy nating mga codes. Halimbawa, ginamit mo yung cash, modified system regular, ano yung code noon pag ano ang code noon based on the revised chart of accounts na inintroduce ng GAM. So letter D is not the answer. So what's the answer? That is letter A. The scope and objectives of the audit is not, hindi yan in-update under the government accounting manual. It remains to be the same na yung accounting policies of an organization should always adhere to efficiencies. So dapat yung paggamit mo ng resources ay kumbaga paggamit mo ng resources, whether financial or non-financial, of a government institution should always be looked into. So, part pa rin yun ng scope and objectives ng audit. And remember, itong government accounting manual guides the it is prescribed by the Commission on Audit, but it does not update yung scope and objectives because the scope and objectives of the GAM of an audit of a government institution remains the same. So same lang ang scope and objectives, hindi po yan in-update under the government accounting manual. It remains to be focused on the efficiencies on the use of the government resources. So the answer is letter A, that is 3 points. Number 6, it refers to the step in the government budgetary process which involves the implementation of the GAA, which include the release of revenue allotment under the supervision of the DBM. Legislation, execution, preparation, accountability. It refers to the step in the government which involves the implementation of the GAA. Since ando na yung key term, implementation of the GAA. So, implementation, execution na yan, letter B for 2 points. Number 7, refers to the step in the government budgetary process which involves the submission of proper documentary reports by responsible officer, liquidation of expenditures, and audit conducted by COA to ensure public funds are spent in accordance with the Appropriation Act. So kapag merong items on the audit conducted by COA, yan ay budget accountability na. Tapos na kasi they are conducting post audit on the transactions of the government. That is D, budget accountability. What is the title of the revised government accounting system for national government agencies which is effective starting January 1, 2016? The answer, letter C, the Government Accounting Manual. So kung binasa mo yung GAM provisions, makikita mo yung volume 1 and volume 1 to 3. Normally dun sa introduction part ay in-introduce ang effectivity of the GAM, which is on January 1, 2016. So before Government Accounting Manual, ano ba ang ginagamit? Itong letter B, yung New Government Accounting System. So yung NGAS na yan, yung New Government Accounting System ay na-update at ni-rename, ginawang Government Accounting Manual at in-update yung mga policies, yung mga chart of accounts, yung mga books and forms na ginagamit. So that is 3 points for letter C. Okay. Number 9, which of the following is not an aspect of government accounting? This is easy. Fund budgetary accounting and obligation accounting is an aspect. Modified accrual accounting is a, a feature of 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 the use of a government accounting. Kumbaga yan yung special features on the use of government accounting. So it is not an aspect. That is 2 points. Letter C, modified accrual accounting. So let's proceed with the true or false. Analyze the statements. Click through if the statement is correct and false if otherwise. Okay, number 10. The GAA may include provisions for the allocation of special funds for special priorities and programs of agencies. The GAA may include provisions for the allocation of special funds for special priorities and programs of the agencies. The answer is false. Remember, the General Appropriations Act is for general funds alone. So kung meron kang special funds na hindi yan covered ng General Appropriations Act at mga special priorities and programs, it is included in a special appropriation law. So hindi pwedeng isama sa hindi pwedeng GAA ka, General Appropriation ka, pero ang tinutukoy mo dun sa loob ng bill ay special appropriation, it cannot be. Yung mga special appropriations na yan should be on a separate special appropriation laws. So the answer for number 10 is false. Nagkamali siya sa number 10, kung sino man itong reference natin. Number 11, savings for the unexpended budget of a government agency may be used for the succeeding year as long as it is expended for the same line item category such as PS, MOE, and CO. And PS, alam mo na yan, personal services, maintenance and other operating expenses, and capital outlay. The answer is false. Remember yung discussion natin sa discussion video, savings for unexpended budget, ibig sabihin yan yung mga hindi mo nagastos na budget ay hindi mo yan pwedeng gamitin on a succeeding year. Kahit na yan pa ay nasa same line item category, kahit na yan ay sobra mo sa PS, hindi pwede na gamitin. It should be reverted back to the Bureau of Treasury and then kakamo uli papuntahan. Remember the concept of the zero-based budgeting? Doon tinukoy na hindi pwede yung mga savings. Di ba diniscuss din natin doon na hindi nga pwede pati yung borrowings from other government agencies. So hindi rin yun pwede. All savings should be reverted back to the Bureau of Treasury. Number 12, borrowing of funds from other government agencies under, balikan nga natin itong number 11. What is the logic of not allowing the unexpended budget to be used for the succeeding year? Normally kasi kapag we allow these savings, yung mga savings mo sa unexpended budget, anong gagawin ng mga karamihan sa mga agencies? Ang mangyayari dyan ay maaring matipid yung mga na-budgetan na program since there is a possibility pala na magamit mo pa yan on the succeeding year. So iniiwasan yung mga ganong scenarios on the government. Dapat kung ano man yung mga savings mo on your unexpended budget, it should be reverted back to the treasury. So hindi pwede na baka kasi yung tipong magkakaroon ng mga unnecessary savings doon sa mga government agencies. So lalaki ng lalaki yung funds on the government na maaaring hindi na rin ma-monitor ng Bureau of Treasury kapag sobrang daming savings at yun ay mag-accumulate. Normally hindi nagagamit yung funds kung saan siya talaga dapat at pwedeng merong mga idle funds na naiiwan doon sa mga agencies na pwede pa sanang maibigay doon sa iba pang government agencies kung yun ay nai-revert sa treasury. Number 11, borrowing of funds from other government agencies under the same department is allowed under the Philippine Government Accounting. So this is false. Yun yung diniscuss natin kanina. Appropriation refers to an authorization made by law or other legislative enactment or for payments to be made with the funds of the government under specified conditions. So this is essentially a nilift lang dun sa mismong definition ng appropriation. This is true. Unutilized budget shall be reverted to the DBM in general. Unutilized budget shall be reverted to the DBM in general. Yung logic ay tama, pero saan i-revert? Sa DBM ba? It is not. Saan i-revert? Sa Treasury. So the answer for number 14 is false. Number 15, the General Appropriation Bill is a law. Any violation by an agency by exceeding its expenditures beyond the budget limitations is construed as technical malversation. The logic is correct, but the term bill is not correct because a bill is not yet a law. Dapat yan ay General Appropriation Act. So the answer for number 15 is false. Pero itong tinutukoy na to na exceeding its expenditures beyond the budget limitation is construed as technical malversation. This is correct. Ang nagpamali lang dyan is yung word na bill. Number 16, in government accounting, all expenses are recorded when incurred. Income shall be on accrual basis except when impracticable to apply or when other methods are required by law. This is correct. Nilift lang yan doon mismo sa module, sa iyong module. Yan yung concept ng modified accrual basis na yung income ay merong special provisions whether it is when it is impracticable to apply or merong ibang requirements ang batas, requirement by law. Now, let's go to classification, whether it is PS, MOE, FE, or CO, by clicking on the circle corresponding your answer. So remember, kapag personal services related to the benefits and compensation of the permanent employees, MOE related to normally mga operating requirements, financial expenses related to bank charges, CO, capital outlay related to property, plant, and equipment. Repairs of motor vehicles. MOE, maintenance and other operating expenses is correct. This is correct. Hindi siya PS, hindi siya FE, hindi siya capital outlay. Kung walang repair yan, kung motor vehicles lang ang naka-indicate yan, that is capital outlay. Pero dahil pinagawa mo yung motor vehicle, nasira siya, nasira yung, for example, nasira yung sasakyan, the term motor vehicles ay ginagamit for any vehicle with motor engine. Kaya ganyan ang description sa government ng mga sasakyan, mga truck, mga van, mga pick-up. Ang general term doon ay motor vehicle. Vehicles with motored engine. So kapag pina-repair mo yon, this is under MOOE. Travel expenses, this is MOOE. Whether ito ay permanent or contractual employees, basta travel expenses, it is maintenance and other operating expenses. Operating expenses kasi yan. Salaries and wages. The term salaries and wages in the government accounting manual refers to the compensation of permanent employees. So salaries and wages ang ginagamit na account title under the revised chart of accounts kapag yan ay sweldo ng mga permanent mga employees with permanent positions, mga may plantilla positions. So this is personal services. Labor and wages. So under the revised chart of accounts, gagamitin mo yung labor and wages for the compensation of non-permanent employees. Normally, mga job order workers in the government ang gumagamit nitong labor and wages account title. So this is not PS, but it is a maintenance and other operating expenses. This is operating expenses. So MOE ang sa answer for number 20. Nalito siya on number 20. Construction of laboratory buildings. Construction of laboratory buildings is investment, property, plant, and equipment. This is capital outlay. Clothing allowance, personal services. Because ang may clothing allowance lang is the permanent employees in the government. So, personal services. Yan. Seminars and training expenses of permanent employees. So, parang travel expenses lang ito. Kaya lang, medyo nilito ka kasi bakit nilagyan ng permanent employees dyan. So, whether it is for job order workers or for permanent employees, basta seminar and training expenses is charged to maintenance and other operating expenses. Service charges by depositary bank. Service charges by depositary bank, the answer is financial expenses. Oh, bakit siya na mali? Okay, walang correct, no correct answers. Baka hindi ito nalagyan ng sagot on the sheets, but the correct answer, I will edit this. I will input an answer for this item number 24. The answer is financial expenses. Basta related to charges by the bank, depositary bank, mga checkbooks, charges, mga taxes imposed by basta related sa charges imposed by the bank, yan ay charged to financial expenses. Supplies expense, bumili ka for example ng mga bond paper, ball pen, ganyan, that is operating expenses, MOE. Representation expenses, anong representation expenses? For example, normally these are for higher ranking officials of the government. Halimbawa, meron siyang meeting with the investors from other country, o kaya nire-represent niya yung institution sa several conventions, meron siyang mga meetings na kino-conduct or partnerships. Yung mga food and yung mga food and accommodation expenses na binayaran, chinolder ng agency to represent normally these are incurred by the head of the agencies in representing the institution or the agency where he belongs. Yun ay charge sa maintenance and other operating expenses. Consultancy fees, this is also charged to MOE. Ano ibig sabihin ng consultancy fees? For example, pag-hire ng mga experts. For example, the DENR, maghahanap sila ng experts on the extraction of the dolomite. So, normally, may mga consultancy fees na charge dyan. It will be charged to maintenance and other operating expenses. Hindi mo pwedeng i-charge sa personal services because hindi mo naman yon permanent employee. Okay. Gasoline and fuel expenses for motor vehicles. This is MOOE. Motor vehicles, capital outlay na yon, as discussed kanina. Because that is a property, plant, and equipment. Loss on disposition of resources. Halimbawa, nagbenta ka ng resources and you incurred a loss on the disposition, on pagbebenta mo, saan mo i-charge yan? Sa MOE. So, normally, may mga karamihan sa items ay nakakatch in sa MOOE. So, loss on sale of assets yan. Loss on sale of assets or the disposition of resources is chargeable to maintenance and other operating expenses. So, I think that ends the discussion on quiz number 1. Thank you. So for any questions siguro related to quiz number 1 ay pwede mong i-chat doon sa pwede kang mag-post ng inquiry on the Google Classroom or doon sa group chat natin. Okay, thank you.